today we're going to be talking about adapting Voces to online learning. Um, as many of you know, perhaps, Voces was created to be used in a typical classroom setting where you'd be in a class with your students, and of course that's not happening now. And so we have talked to many teachers over the last few weeks and have just looked at what we have and looked at the tools that our platform provides and have come up with some ideas for ways to effectively use Voces with your students in this situation, not only because your students are working from their homes and you're teaching remotely, but also with the idea that many of you are not following your curriculum that you were following before this all started. So now I hear that many of you guys are required to just give small amounts of material every week and give maybe just participation grades or just show evidence of learning. And of course, your students are all going through various situations related to the quarantine and everything. So just getting things to them is difficult, and ensuring that they do something is difficult. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over a few approaches that you can take, both in terms of assigning and giving them work, as well as kind of monitoring their work, and just some other ideas. So I made a presentation for this webinar, and it will be available afterwards if you'd like a link to it, as well as this meeting, as I said at the beginning. And most likely I'll be putting this meeting on YouTube as well. So just so you guys have it handy, I'm going to chat you my email. It's Erin A, so ERIN A at vocesdigital.com. I think I spelled that right. So there it is. If you have any questions as we go through, I guess ideally you would just chat your questions into the chat section. I have it open on my screen, or you can, if you want, just ask out loud. So to begin, when you first log in to Voces, in case you didn't know that this existed, what you do is you log in, and let me log out first. Okay. I'm going to log in, and I'm actually going to use Nuestra Historia 1 as an example for this presentation. But of course, everything I go over here is applicable to all of our titles. So in any of our titles, when you first log in, a great place to go to just get an idea of what is covered and where is the scope and sequence. And to access that, you come up here to the teachers panel and then click the resource library, and it will open up on the video library, but the scope and sequence is under additional resources. So you click there and you'll be able to find the scope and sequence and open it. And again, it will just give you an idea of what is covered and where, and you'll be able to find, hopefully a good place for your students. I recommend, but you are the experts, but I recommend that you kind of find a place that's a little bit below where your students left off when you last saw them, so that what they're encountering is going to be, in a sense, review, and not too challenging, especially when they're getting used to a new program. I think that's important. So also in the resource library are lots of additional resources that you can explore. And then down here we have the Vocs Tutorials. In my presentation, I link to many of these tutorials, and these tutorials are also on YouTube on our channel there. But when you access them here, what's nice is that they have a PDF version of each one. So if you prefer to read anyways, it's easier sometimes to read than to listen to a video if you just need one little detail or something. So that's where the scope and sequence is for each title. And I think that's a really good place to start in terms of finding where you want your students to kind of enter that title. And to just clarify, if you don't have access to the title that you think your students should be in, let us know, because right now we're giving access to any titles that you want, full access through the end of June. So the next thing to consider is bite size. And I was actually this morning, maybe some of you do this too, but the first thing I do when I wake up sometimes, embarrassingly, is go on my Facebook. And this morning I went on Facebook and I saw someone asking on one of our Voces group, Facebook groups, asking about what to assign. And someone mentioned how like she had overwhelmed her students by assigning too much. And I just thought, yes, like it's really easy for us as teachers to assign too much and to like want to give those students like all this stuff to do. And in fact, I have an 8-year-old and I kind of feel like that's what his teacher is doing. Like it's like they're trying to recreate school in my house. I think what's ideal right now, and again, it depends on what district you're in and what their expectations are, but what's ideal for the students is bite size, especially again, when they're new to the program and new to remote learning and everyone's new to this situation. So look for something in that title that the students can do. Like I was saying, shoot a little low. Try to find something that you think they'll enjoy. It like every title has different resources. But look for a story that they might identify with, like that's about YouTube and technology, or that's about fashion or something. And just keep it simple. We don't need to, have like this perfect symphony of a lesson for them. Just having them read a story and do some activities that might suffice. So first, and I kind of just touched on a few of these, but first I just want to think about our comprehensible input titles, and then I'm going to move on to some examples in our other titles. But in Nuestra Historia or Notre Histoire, there are a few different types of like bite-sized lessons that you might include. So the first one is kind of, in a sense, the most obvious because there are a ton of short stories, which is assign a short story and a few activities. So I'm in Nuestra Historia 1. If I click on the full directory, first of all, if you're new to Voces and you click on that full directory, you might be a little bit overwhelmed with everything that we include because this is a full curriculum and it's meant to be used from the day one through the whole year. But now is not day one of a normal year. It's the end of a very unusual year. So instead of seeing this as a full curriculum and like approaching it that way, try approaching it as a collection of short stories. And which short stories will your students enjoy the most? So, after looking at that scope and sequence, find a unit that they might, fit well in terms of level and everything. And then just browse the stories on your own. If you click on any of the short story sections, you can just go right to the short story itself and, skim it over. And when you find that story that you think they'll enjoy, assign that. So, and I'll just go quickly over how to assign, but remember that we have all of these tutorials that go over specifically how to do these different tasks. But I will, in this case, click on the assignment icon. I'm just going to create a new assignment, click current page. So this does come up though in terms of, or is relevant in terms of using Voces as an online tool, because we have the assignment wizard, which means you can direct them to a page, but there's all these cool things that you can do when you assign. So one of the things is the different types of due dates. You can give no deadline. You can give a specific date or a date range. Specific date is nice because it gives them a goal. You can keep it a soft deadline, which means that they can submit late, but it will be marked late for you. So you'll know who did it late, but they won't be penalized necessarily unless you choose to. So specific date makes sense in many cases. If you are planning on planning out the next month of assignments for your students, then I recommend doing the date range, because then if you can see here, like you can choose when the assignment opens, like next week on the 21st, and when it closes, like the 24th. So the students won't see it before the 21st unless you want them to, but it's probably relevant to just keep it closed, like they don't see it coming. And then on Tuesday, they will see the assignment at the time that's set here, and they'll have that much time to complete it, and then it will be due on Friday at like 11 p.m. in this case. If you, this is an aside, but if you are linked, if like your account is linked to your LMS, then the students will be notified when that assignment opens and not when you assign it. So you could like go out and assign like out for a month and really arrange your assignments on your calendar, and your students won't know until those assignments come up. So hopefully that was like clear enough. Experiment with it. You can email me if you need like a more direct, like relevant explanation of how to do that. But I think using a specific date or date range is ideal for both like organizing your plans and giving them goals, and just keeping it as a soft deadline, which is the default anyways, so that they can submit late, but you'll be able to see if it's late. So I'm going to, in this case, just stick with specific date and make it due the Saturday and click apply. And now I'm going to use select a date. And now I'll just choose the classes I want to assign it to and click finish selecting classes. And then I can leave a note and create assignment. So that's assigning a story. And it's, in its essence, assigning is just telling students where to go. The next thing in the case of Nuestra Story or Notre Histoire, if you were assigning a story, would be to find an activity or two to assign as well. With activities, when we assign, you can set restrictions on the assignment. So you can decide like how many times they have to submit, or you can do a few other things. So again, I'll just go through it really quickly. Some of you may have already seen this, but I'm going to give it a specific date, click apply, and I can apply a submission limit. I can have the students see the correct answers. You can really craft their experience. And I think this is, an important part of using Voces effectively remotely. Is just like really giving them some limitations or constraints without giving them too much constraint to like be confused. So like prevent leaving is one that I always say, perhaps hold off on until students are more comfortable with Voces, because if they try to leave more, like if they try, they get warned, and they try again, they get locked out, and that can cause some confusion. So anyways, when you're done with those, you click finished, choose your classes. And so when you do this, you can assign another or one or two activities with the story. You can elaborate on your notes to them. But essentially what I'm trying to show here is that, like be content with just assigning like this little nuggets of an activity. Read the story, do a few activities, and that's it. And that might be something that they do twice a week, depending on how much you have to give them. You might also want to assign an embedded reading. Those are articulos. Those are in both the Spanish and French under the extra section. And they're just they're like interesting, first of all, but they're also contained. Like a student can do this, assuming it's at their level. They'll be able to read the first version, and it walks them pretty slowly through all the versions with comprehension checks. So they're interacting with the language, learning something new. You're getting, a sense of how well they're understanding it, but it's not too taxing. Similarly, we have videos in some of our titles, not all, but in Nuestra Historia 1, we have Senior Jordan videos and Profe Loco videos as an example. Both of them, they're great, engaging videos. I have an 8-year-old who like loves both, but like all of us at the office love them too. So they appeal to all ages, super comprehensible, and they have activities that go with them. So, never mind about everything that Senior Jordan did in terms of like helping you introduce the video, because that's, maybe too much right now. Instead, just have the students enjoy the video and then complete some activities with it. Oh, and I was totally ignoring the chat. So someone asked, like, you can jump around like that. Well, I think with comprehensible input and the way, like, again, it's about approaching our titles differently, finding where your students would be in that scope and sequence and going a little bit below their level. So it's not so much jumping around once you find that place for them to almost review content from the year. And this does build on itself. But again, because it's, especially with our comprehensible input titles, they're stories. So as long as the story, or as long as the students can understand most of the story, they'll be able to complete the activities. And I think just, there's a confidence boost in reading a story and understanding it that I think we sometimes overlook as teachers. We want the students to be growing and building vocabulary, but there's something really awesome about just being able to read it. So just, there's a value in that. And yes, there are French titles too. Again, I'm just using this as an example, but we have Notre Histoire, a wonderful curriculum, just like Nuestra Historia, with almost all the same parts. And okay, so, and there are interviews in our French, but there are interviews in our French title, which are videos, and we will be adding videos eventually in those levels as well. We don't have as many as in our French titles. We have amazing stories in those. And then someone's asking, what's the difference between a soft and an open-ended deadline? I'm really bad at explaining the difference. Basically soft, I think open-ended, the difference there is if you put restrictions on that assignment, like submission limits, then it means that they can go back afterwards and okay, so if there's a soft deadline and the deadline passes and I try to go back and do it as a student, I get like one chance to do it and that's it, even if there were 3 submission limit. If it's open-ended, I think that means that all the same restrictions that applied to the original assignment exist even if it's late. It's like a very small nuance, and I think soft deadline is kind of like the standard. So yeah, a video or activity. Oh, I'm like, a chapter or 2, that would be a lot. No, in many of our titles, like actually all of our Nuestra Historia titles and level 1 for our French, we have readers or our reader at the end. And they're leveled readers, of course. So like this is the level 1 Day of the Dead reader. It's a beautiful story. And it's about Day of the Dead, but it really is applicable to any time of the year. And we also have, in this case, La Madre Perfecta. But again, we have different titles depending on what book you're in. And some, or most, I would say, have activities with them. Some don't, but they all, well, and most of them have audio too, but they're there and you can assign a chapter, in this case, assign an activity to go with it. And, I was talking to someone earlier this week and she was planning on assigning like a mixture of like a short story section, like a short story with some activities on early in the week, and then an embedded reading, and then maybe a video, and then every Friday, a chapter from the reader, something like that. And again, I know it depends on your district's expectations. But those are just some ideas. And again, this all applies to Notre Histoire as well. So looking at our other series for French, Spanish, and even ESL, it's the same. You can approach it with the same idea. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat, but he's meowing in the background. And let me I just realized I was signed in somewhere else. Okay. So I'm just going to jump to novice really quick and just give you an idea. I won't go through like how to assign again, but in novice, if you come up to the tornado icon, you can see the chapters and get a sense of what's in each chapter. So, one thing that you could do is find a topic that you want your students to review, whether that's like Sarah and a Star and the differences between them, or vocabulary on a specific topic, like food and drink, or a grammar point. So you find that page in the book, you assign it so that they can review it. And then you find the corresponding activities. There are lots of activities in novice and our other more like traditional titles. So there's lots of opportunities for the students to practice what they just read about. And so you can assign those activities. So that's one sort of like bite-sized approach. We also just have some wonderful materials in all of our titles that can kind of, assuming that you're kind of aiming a little low in terms of level, that can be used as just kind of standalone activities, like authentic materials where they read an infographic or something, or watch a commercial, like in this case, and then do an activity. You know, it's, again, it's getting that culture and that language in front of them. It's getting them doing something that's achievable and isn't going to overwhelm them. So that's there for you. We also have speaking activities in all of our titles. This is great because, you know, again, it's them listening to listening to a native speaker ask a question and having to record their response. You get to hear the recording and give them feedback if you want, you know, so it's like something that you might do in class normally, but now you can do it online. And of course, we have lots of videos in all of our titles in French and Spanish for the other series. Like in Spanish Novice, we have like tons of videos. So, you know, check those out. Look around for the ones that appeal to you the most. They all have activities. They're all, you know, something that you can assign right in Voces. And so it's all in one place in that way. So, and I also kind of already went through this, but you know, I think the key to using Voces remotely is to use the tools that are there to pace and manage students. So assign work with specific due dates, like I went over before. Organize assignments in the future by using those, the date ranges. And that way the students don't even see it coming, but then it will be notified, like they'll see the assignment when it does open. And also, like when you can, okay, so let me show you, you can see what students have completed and when in a few different ways. Let me jump back into Nuestra 1. And someone asked if the French 1 was equivalent. Yes, it's very equivalent. French 1 and 2 each cover 1 year, however, and Spanish Novice covers 2. But they're organized in a similar way and take a very similar approach. And actually, French 1 and 2 have so much practice, so many lessons, authentic material, IPAs, a whole bunch of cool stuff. Okay, so, oh yeah, I was like, what was I doing? Okay. So there's a few different ways to see what students have done. And I think, again, like right now, it's not so much about grades and, you know, getting those students to do better in terms of grades. It's really, I think for a lot of teachers, just getting students to log in and getting students to complete the work. And one key way of doing that is to kind of like be on them early on and not let the problem get out of hand. So if you go to assignments, one thing that you can do is you can see what, like if students have worked at it at all. So even if this is due on Saturday, for instance, I could come in here and just check by clicking on the assignment to see who in period 1 has completed it. And right now, no one has, which is to be expected because it's not due till Saturday. But, you know, on Saturday morning when it's due that night, I could come back in here as a teacher and, you know, check again. And hopefully I'm seeing more students appear in the complete section there. And, you know, if Betsy, for instance, you know, is still incomplete, close to the deadline, maybe I can, you know, depending again on your situation, maybe you can message her and, you know, like email or something, or message, somehow basically make note that she's not being proactive with her assignments. So that if it comes to the case where like she hasn't even logged in for a week, you know, you have that documentation. So that's one thing. You can also, if you look in list view, and it's funny because like, actually I'm gonna jump into Novice again because before this webinar, I cleaned out my assignments in Nuestra and now I'm realizing that they would be helpful right now. So if I go to Novice and I go to assignments, oh, I don't really have a lot here either. Okay, so I'll just go back to level 1, sorry. But basically I just wanna show you that in assignments, once you have a lot of assignments, which you know, probably will over time. If you want to see everything like in a list, you can click to list view. And here you can also see results. You can see who completed it and who didn't by class. And you can see like completed assignments as well, like older assignments. So that's just another view to take. And another way to, I should have demonstrated this better, but I'll just tell you. Another way to see, like, kind of keep tabs on students, and just a nice, like, just so you know, is if you assign mostly auto-graded activities, which is great if you do, because then you're not, you know, having to grade it, and the students get that automatic feedback. Those are great, except you wouldn't see them in requires grading, except if this student does it late. So this is just a good place to come and just like a heads up that if your students do submit those activities or any activities late, they will appear in requires grading and they will be marked late. So it will be very clear that they are late. And if you want, you can leave a message for your students, you know, or like say something to them in a comment on the assignment. So another problem that I've heard from teachers is that they have students who are moving too fast, who are, you know, all working, you know, the students who are like maybe the best students sometimes or the most ambitious, are working from home and aren't maybe spending enough time on the stuff that the teacher wants them to do, but instead they're moving ahead and kind of just losing focus. So if you have students like that, you can turn sections and pages to teacher only. So to do that, well, first of all, let me show you what it looks like done. If you open our directory, you'll see in each unit, somewhere, or chapter in the case of the other titles, a little apple like this one here next to the IPA. So that indicates that that section is teacher only. So that means that only when I'm logged in as a teacher do I see that section from my directory, but when my students log in, they will not see that section. However, if I want my students to go to one of these pages, I can just assign the page and then they can access it through the assignment icon. So it's not like they can't get to that page, but I have to let them. So if you want to create that situation for bigger chunks or other chunks or pages within the directory or within the curriculum, you simply go to the teachers panel and then click on the Voces Editor. The table of contents will appear and you click the section, or like in this case, the unit that, let's say we want to make teacher only. And no matter what section, like type of section it is, you can see the same icons that appear. And so like for unit 6, these icons I'll apply to that unit. I'm going to find the icon that says students see. I'll click it and turn it to teacher only. So now only I can see it in my directory and my students can't. And that includes the entire unit. So a lot of teachers who use this, of course, just like make all the future units teacher only. Some teachers even make the entire curriculum teacher only and then just assign the students exactly where they want to go. And you know, that's not a bad idea in these times if like you just want to have the students be so directed in where they go and not get, you know, in a sense overwhelmed by the larger curriculum. So that is an option. You can also, within a unit, of course, turn any section into teacher only or turn any page into teacher only. So it's just a matter of finding that students see button and clicking it for that specific page or section. And then when you're done, you just click save and then you X out. And I always like to refresh before I look, but in the directory, we should see the later units as teacher only. So like unit 5 and 6, and then a few pages in there, I changed to teacher only. So that's a nice option. So you can also, and this came up in that Facebook post this morning, you can create your own activity. A lot of you guys have been signing up for free trials and access to different activity, like kind of like platforms where you can create speaking activities or multiple choice activities and so forth. And those are all great. But what's nice about Voces is that it's all there for you already. So not only do we have the activities and the stories and the videos and all that stuff, but we also have the capability of you creating an activity. So again, we have videos that go in depth on this, and I'm not going to like go that in depth, but I want to show you, I'll show you how to, let's see. I'll show you how to add a page with a prompt and have students record their response. So if I just want to add my own page, like not anything here that's been created, but my own, I need to go to the Voces Editor, like we just were with the teacher only thing. So I'm going to go to the teachers panel and then the Voces Editor. And now I just need to find a place that I want my speaking activity to be. So let's say I want it, let's say I want them to do an activity where they speak after they read this story. So I'm going to go to that story section and I'm going to click new group. This is going to give me like a place in the directory to add that recording activity. So I'm just going to call it recording activity, but you can call it whatever you want. Click create. It always gets added to the end and it always starts as teacher only so that I can like work on it without my students seeing it on accident. I'm going to move it up so it comes right after that story. And then I'm going to add a page. So I'm going to click add page and I want to create a new page. So I'll click add. And so now we have the activity creator, which if you've ever edited a page in Voces, this is what it looks like, except there's stuff on the left side. And I'll get to that in a moment. But right now I just want to add a page. So I'm going to name the page the same thing as I named the place I'm going to put it. But again, you can kind of. And then because it's a recording activity, I'm going to choose recording activity. And then if I want, I can leave it at points graded. I can put a rubric in. I mean, there's so much possibility here that it would take like hours, to be honest, to like cover everything. So I'm gonna kind of skim over some things. But if I wanted to, I could put my own rubric in here and save the rubric and use the elsewhere and everything like that. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to choose to use the rubric that we provide, the presentational speaking rubric. And I'm gonna click apply template, click OK, and there's our rubric. And now I'm going to click create page. And I know that's a lot of clicks, but that's why I'm recording, so you can check back later and kind of, you know, pause and do it with me. And now I'm going to create a new section and I'm going to choose student recording. I can put directions in here. I don't know what to put, but record once, okay. And then click create section. And now I'm going to click add edit questions. So create a new question and I'm going to put a prompt like, I mean, you might want to put it in the target language, but, and then I'm just going to click add question and there you go. If I click save and close page editor and save the menu and X out of it now, and I'm just going to refresh just in case. Now when I go to the directory and I go to unit 1 and the short story 1, there's my recording activity. I forgot to remove the teacher only, but it wouldn't matter if I was going to assign it anyways. And there are my directions, there's my prompt. My students can come here and record their responses to my question, and then I can listen to them in the grading results. So it's a way, in a sense, for you to stay in touch with your students. You could even, instead of having a written response here, you can record yourself saying something, like, you know, asking a question, and then the students can respond to it. And it's super easy to do. Like, as many clicks as there are, and it's like the same clicks every time, and it just becomes like second nature the more you do it. So yeah, that's just like a really awesome aspect of Voces, and I think made even more relevant now that people are remote, you know, are teaching remotely. And likewise, you can add a matching activity, a multiple choice activity, an email or blog writing activity, like anything you see happening in our curriculum anywhere, for the most part, like 99% of the time, you can do yourself. You can even make things like hover over translations and add your own audio for stories and everything. So it's just something to keep in mind. And I did link to a tutorial here on how to add an activity. So if like later on if you get access to this presentation, which I'm happy to share with you, then you can go there and learn how to add an activity. You can embed your favorite YouTube video and, you know, like maybe for Cinco de Mayo, you know, it's coming up kind of soon. Maybe you have a wonderful video on YouTube that you always play every year and you want to give that to your students. So you can add that to a page in Voces and add an activity and assign it, and it functions just the same. And yeah, I can. And actually, I'll get there in 1 second regarding the question in chat about going over embedding a video, because I'm going to show you how to embed a lesson video, which is the same. And then you can even embed a game for them to play. So our games, we always have the game center at the top, and they are vocab-based games. They're in every title. And, they're like concentration sort of, and like a flashcard challenge. They're fun, they're competitive. So if you want to basically like make sure that students do it and give them a grade and have it report to the grade book, then you can create a page like I just did with the recording. And instead of choosing recording activity, you can choose embed game and embed the game right there. Again, I link to a really great video that goes over the steps involved in that. And it's really simple, and it's very similar to adding a recording activity. So once you get like the basics of adding and editing, it's pretty straightforward. It just takes a little getting used to. So you can even create your own lesson and embed it. So that's what I'm going to show you here. And that will involve creating or embedding a video. So I think this is pretty awesome and very, very, very relevant right now, given the situation. So so actually, let me go to a different story. So what I recommend, and okay, so sorry, I got a little excited there and then got distracted. So what I think, well, first of all, I think it's really awesome to get your voice at least involved like on this platform for your students to hear, especially if you aren't meeting in person, like not in person, but like via Zoom with your students every week or however many times a week. If that's not the case, if you're just basically assigning kind of into the void and aren't engaging with them in real time, then I think if you can either record your voice or put a video of yourself, doing a lesson into Voces for them to hear and see. Basically, I think you should try, because I think for students to hear their teacher's voice is just something really important right now. It's just such a different time, and any little bit of normalcy that you can like sprinkle in their life, I think is great. So, okay, so if you wanted to add like a video lesson to Voces, first you would need to make the lesson. And to make the lesson, you could use a program like Zoom, like we're using now. But there are some other programs like Loom is another one. You could even, I think, record like right on YouTube. So the idea though is to get an MP4 file of yourself with your screen shared like this and your audio playing, and hopefully a little video of yourself talking. And you can log into Voces, and like in this case, you might review some of the vocabulary with them, read some of the story and pause every sentence or two and like clarify some meaning or ask a rhetorical question. If you're in one of our other titles, you would be presenting the lesson. So like, I'm just going to jump into French really quick, but you might like record yourself. Sorry. This is the very first lesson, but you might record yourself saying some of the greetings and like using them in examples and, being animated and being yourself and that teacher that they know and love. So, record yourself delivering the material is the key. And you can do it by sharing your screen and using a program. Like I do recommend Zoom. It's really easy to use. And after you're done, you're going to have an MP4 file, like a video file. And so to add it to Voces, though, we need it to be in YouTube. So I'm going to go to YouTube. This is like my personal YouTube channel that my son uses, obviously, hence all the Minecraft stuff and tornado stuff. But all you do, and I use my personal in this case because it's important for you guys to realize that like you can do this with your own YouTube channel, that you don't need like some fancy business YouTube or something. So you come in it, and I guess maybe you have to sign up through YouTube, which I think I did at some point. I don't remember, but so I'm in it though. And I just click on this little video icon and it says upload video, and I click on it. And then this page opens up, and then I can just drag and drop my video file into it. So like, I'm not going to actually, 'cause it's a big file, but if this was like my MP4 of my, um, little lesson, I could just drag it over there and it would start to load. And then it just asks some really simple questions like, is this video made for kids? Yes or no? And like, what do you want to use as a thumbnail? And those are like the two big questions. And then when you like press OK, you'll see your video in this little like list. Like you can see I have a lot of different videos. Here's one that I made a while ago, and it's not anything really. It's just literally an example. It's 45 seconds. But let's say I uploaded it. The only other thing that you need to remember when you're uploading is to set it as unlisted, or at least that's what I recommend. If you keep it public, that means that people can search it on YouTube and find it, which isn't all bad, but just know that that's a possibility. If it's private, like this, then you have to invite people to watch it, and you don't want that situation because you're going to embed it into Voces. If it's unlisted, that's perfect. Then you can put the link, like I will grab this link. Well, yeah. And I just am going to copy this link. And then I'm going to go back to the lesson page that I just, we're kind of pretending here, but that I just did this video on. And let's say this is the page right here. And I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page and click edit this page. Now, every page in Voces has that button. And that means you can change and edit anything on any page. And so I click it, and it always is going to ask me to make a copy of that page, because now the page that I was just looking at, which you can see on the left here, is like a unique page in my account only, because I'm going to be changing it. And so, so on the left here, we have the page that exists, and on the right, we have like corresponding sections. So like section 2 is the vocab. The second section is called words, and that's the story. And then the third section is this teacher note. So I want to create a new section. So I'm going to click create a new section. I'm going to select a section type, which you can see there are so many types of sections. As an aside, any page has to either be for recording or for an activity, in a sense. I mean, you can not put an activity, you can just put content on a page like here. But as you can see, there's no recording type here, because that is only reserved for pages that are set to recording. So like you can't put a multiple choice activity with a recording activity. That's just one little restraint. But anyways, I want to put the video on there. So I'm going to click content only and then create section. It always puts the section at the bottom, and you can see it here on the left. So I'm going to drag it to the top. So now it's on the top. I'm going to click add edit copy, and then create a new copy block. And then once here, again, as you can see, there's so many things you can do here, but I'm just adding my video. So I'm going to click on the video icon and paste that URL from my video lesson from YouTube right there. And then I'm going to click insert video. And there it is. And I'm going to center it to make it look pretty. And then click add block and close and save and close editor. And now my video's on that page. And I went on a few tangents there, and I feel like complicated it a bit, so I apologize. But it's so simple. Once you learn how to do this, and really 3 easy steps: make the video, upload it to YouTube, embed it on Voces. And then your video is there in Voces. You can assign this page just like normal. Your students will go to this page and be able to listen to you give a lesson. And in theory, it would be like a lesson on the page that you're on, in a sense. So then they could review that same material and move on with the activities. And it's just a way for you to, engage with them, in a sense, and for them to hear your voice and learn. I don't know. I don't think Flipgrid, I'm not familiar with Flipgrid. I'm responding to a question. But as long as it's an MP4 file, then you could put it on YouTube. But I don't think it like links. I don't think you can embed directly from Flipgrid. In fact, when I went to embed, let me just show you. if you click on this video icon, it says YouTube, Vimeo, Vine, Instagram, Dailymotion, and Youku, whatever Youku is. The other ones I'm pretty familiar with. So those are the ones that you can link to. So one more thing in this vein, very similar, if you don't want to go through the motions of, maybe you just don't have a program to record your screen or you just don't have time because you have like a million preps. Then you can just add a video, then you can just add audio. And to do that, same process, but without a whole bunch at the beginning. So you just go to the page, you go to edit this page. You don't have to make any video or audio file beforehand. You click edit this page, you click OK, you click create a new section and select content only, just like before. Create section, you move it to the top or wherever you want. And you click add edit copy, create a new copy block. And now you can enable recording. And then press OK and click record. And now it's recording me. And so as a teacher, I could say, read the story and notice this and, say whatever you want. But you could talk about the page, the content that they're looking at the same time. And then you'll have an audio file and you can add block, close, save page, close editor. And now your voice is on that page for them to listen to. Okay, so there is also a video on how to do it here, just what I just showed you. So if you need to reference that really directly, it's there. There's also a Voces Forum. Someone asked about this in an email today, like this morning, and I was like, oh, that's perfect for today's webinar because I actually kind of forget about our forum. But what it is in the communication tools, if you click on Voces Community, you'll see this icon, teacher to students, and it's just a very basic forum where you can create a post and, label the post like, I don't know, I'm just, maybe I'm a little hungry right now. You can label the post, you ask a question or type whatever you want in the post, but it should be, like something for your students to respond to. You can you can have it post to all the classes in that title, or you can unselect or deselect that and then just have it go to the classes that you want it to go to. And then you press submit. And so then it will be sent to those students. So their icon here will glow green, which is like the common, it's kind of like glowing green like the game icon is right now, but it will be glowing green, indicating that they have like a new post in there. And then this will be glowing green and they can go to it and see your post and they'll be able to answer it. So I did a few earlier today. So like the weekend, what did you do over the weekend? One student, Victor, wrote, I went to the beach. All the other students in those classes will be able to see what Victor wrote. And I can also see an overview of like, how many students in each class have replied. And of course, if a student says something inappropriate, hopefully they don't, but if they do, you can always delete it. And they can delete their own comments too, in case they make a mistake. And here's another one, like say hello in Spanish. And like three students responded. And they can, again, see each other's responses. So it's just a way to, it's a way to have like a safe and kind of controlled engagement with your whole class, like all together. So it can be kind of fun. Yes, I will definitely share this webinar. If you want a link to it, you can actually email me at erina@vocesdigital.com. That's ERINA@vocesdigital.com. And I'll share this presentation, like the slideshow too, which has all these little videos that I made because I know that there's like a lot in here. So, so some of this material might just be more efficiently found in these videos on the slideshow. Okay, so going back to students who maybe don't do as much as they should. I mean, I just keep hearing that, you have half the class who's super engaged and like waiting for more assignments and then the other half who like never even log in. Well, we can't make those students log in and, neither can you, but you can at least document what they're doing or have evidence of it. So I want to show you where you can see student usage logs. all you do is you go to the teachers panel and then to the class and student management, and you choose the class that has that student in it. That student, no, I'm just joking. And you click on the class and then click add view students. And you can see right away, who has logged in and who has not logged in. So that's one level. Like maybe you have to message those students who have not logged in and just make sure they have the information they need and know what to do. But you can also see, the students who have logged in, you can see their usage log. So you just choose, like you click on their name and then click usage log. And you can see the last time that they logged in, how long they were spending on each page, and all the way back in time. And if it's really long, and this one isn't, but if it was really long, you would actually have a link down here, or you would see a link down here that would say like load complete usage history, which in some cases, like if it's halfway through the year, it can be huge. But sometimes, and I've talked to teachers where they've had to pull out this data to basically prove, to justify a grade or something. And unfortunately, that's sometimes the case, but at least you have that to reference. But hopefully too, you could use it to kind of get students on board before there's a problem. So I know that right now, a lot of teachers are dealing not just with students, but with parents in a way that you probably never have before. And this can come in handy for that as well. So that's there for you. And don't be sorry about wanting the webinar. That's why we record it, and it's a lot, and I totally get that. There's a lot here. You don't have to do everything. I'm just kind of like showing you as many angles as possible so that you can choose the ones that will work for you, and then ignore the rest. Well, and this comes like where to begin with all this. So every title has, let me go out of here, has a student resource section at the very beginning in the introduction. And every student, when they first log in, will land on this page. And this is like the welcome page. And it's in French, in the French titles, and it's in English and ESL. And this just goes over, common questions and answers that people have about the site, like how to navigate it, how to access an assignment, just really simple stuff. At the very bottom, there is a video that is all about what the students see, like as in it's for the students, and it's for the students so they can watch it and they can get, walks them through Voces and where to go for different things. So it's a good thing, when you tell them how to log in, you can say like log in and then review the page that you are on, scroll all the way to the bottom and watch the video, and just make sure that they spend some time here. And yes, that is my email. And so that's where they land. So that's a good welcome page for them. It just gives them a good feel for the program. But what you could do to even give them a better feel and to test things out yourself is you could assign them these sample activities. There's 2 pages for them. One is like the normal activities and one are recording activities. There's one little section for each type of activity that they may encounter on Voces. So it just gives them experience and an explanation of all the different types. And, there's audio, there's matching, there's auto-graded, there's teacher-graded, and these are all in English. And this is based on, mostly it's based on trying to make them laugh and enjoy it. So it's not about getting it right or wrong. And then the recording activity, it's the same thing. If you were to play this and listen to it, it's in English, and it's like there's silly questions. Like who would win, like a lion or an iguana or something like that, and why? And so then they record themselves answering that. I did talk to someone a few weeks ago who said that she had her students do these activities when they first started Voces, and that she learned more about her students from their responses to these activities than she had all year long. And I mean, that was really kind of cool to hear. And I think she was referencing specifically some of her shyer students, the quieter ones that maybe just didn't say a lot in class. And then when asked, you know, some strange random question, just like opened up in a very thoughtful way. So yeah, you can assign these activities. It gives you practice assigning, it gives them practice completing the activities, and then you'll get these, the results in grading and results. And it's just a good time to like basically mess up because it doesn't, you know, it's not actual work, it's just a test run. And so this is when, you know, if you do run into any issues, you can give us a call or email me, and we can walk you through it and we can help you. I mean, we can help you at any stage, but this is a good time, again, because it's a little bit less important in a sense. So that's that. And then I guess the last thing is just our YouTube channel, which has the tutorials and a lot of wonderful videos. Our whole CI, like Get CI Savvy series of videos is there. Lots of, like, we have a few sample lessons, and actually I'll just show you really quick if I can go there. Sorry. So on our YouTube channel, you'll see like lots of videos, of course. We have some videos specific to our AP title, and we also have like a sample introduction that Brian Candle did for his students, like a video he made that basically introduces them to Voces, and a few other things like that. So I'll let you explore that. And if you have any questions, you just let me know. There's my email again. And I encourage you to check out our COVID-19 response page often. We're coming out with new webinars. I think we're going to do a webinar next week on LMS, like just basically all about LMS. And if you have an LMS and you're having questions about, you know, how it works and how it responds to Voces and all that stuff, come to that. But we'll also have additional webinars and lots of support. And this video, I believe I will link to somewhere in here. And yeah, so that was a lot of information and I crammed it into an hour. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I mean, we're just happy to be in the position to help. And like I said at the beginning, we're kind of discovering ways that Voces can help. And then we're also discovering ways that we can improve Voces to work even better. You know, unfortunately, I don't know, and no one knows what the situation will be like next year for school. I think probably it will be like an on again, off again, or at least a must be prepared for off situation. So hopefully we can be there to support you guys then. And I'm glad you guys are learning a lot. And I will say, not to get cheesy, but I am so impressed with how many teachers are like trying this, like just diving in, you know, like setting up students, assigning, doing all this stuff, and not hesitating. And they are, you know, in many cases, teachers who aren't the best at technology, but are just doing amazing things. So just keep up the good work on your end.